Some people think that I'm picky. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, maybe. It can get really confusing inside of my head. Hi everyone, I'm Hayley. Welcome back to my channel. I've gained a lot of subscribers since I last uploaded, and I just want to say thank you if you're new and you subscribe to my channel. Thank you for subscribing. Also, welcome to my channel. I hope you like my content. I don't always post TikTok videos, unfortunately. I know you guys really like them. That's like a once in a when I don't know what to do kind of thing. Today I'm going to be telling you how I annotate and rate my books. I'm actually going to start by showing you the annotated books that I have because I have quite a few. So the first book that I have is Beloved by Toni Morrison because I read this twice for school and I actually really love this book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Toni Morrison this is not a book review. I don't know why. I can't help myself from talking about Toni Morrison. You'll notice in the other books that I show you that this one is annotated differently because this one doesn't have any tabs. This is not how I annotate the books that I read for fun on my own time, like outside of school. And so I just thought it would be interesting to like kind of show the different processes. I only just started annotating books with tabs like a few months ago. So this is a very beginner friendly annotations video, if you will. I'll probably do more of these videos in the future as my style of annotations changes and evolves. But for now, this is just what works for me. I know everyone does things differently, but this is just how I do it. So Crescent City is one of the first books that I annotated. Technically, it's the second book that I annotated with tabs. It stays the same from when I annotate any book that I'm reading for the first time. I know a lot of people don't like to annotate when they are reading books for the first time. They mostly just like to annotate their favorite books that, you know, they're like rereading or whatever. I just really wanted to annotate a Sarah J. Maas book. I knew I was gonna like the book, is why I annotated it. Okay, let me tell you what each color means. I usually use these sticky tabs when I'm annotating. I recently ran out of these because I was reading the ACOTAR series and I was tabbing like a mofo, literally like every page. I have a very big collection of sticky notes. I don't use a lot of them. Some of them you can see are really big. Some of them are super tiny. Basically, I like to use these tabs. I think that they are the perfect size. When you tab the page, you can still see the text because it's translucent, which is really nice. I know sometimes tabs can be super sticky and they might pull some of the text off of the page when you take them off. I haven't had any problems like that with these tabs, so I'll have them linked down below if you want to get them. My annotation system pretty much stays the same when I'm reading a book for the first time because I am always tabbing for the same things because I don't know what I'm gonna like about a book. I don't really know what to look out for when I'm going into a book for the first time, so I have a very general consistent tabbing and annotation system when I'm reading a book for the first time. Pretend like there's a pink tab here. This is so frustrating because I just ran out of these. I have a bunch of different colors in here and I'm going to tell you what each color represents. And here's why this tabbing thing is tricky, and I think I'm going to move to these next because these purples are super distinct, but these are like almost the exact same color. Because these purples are so similar, I was kind of forced to use them interchangeably. So it was like I just had double the amount of purple rather than like two different kinds of purples to tab for two different things, which worked out because I do tend to use a lot of purples. I use the color purple for moments that I love or quotes that I love. And if I'm reading a book that I really like, of course, I'm going to use purple a lot. So it was nice to have double the amount of purple, but at the same time, I think I would just prefer to have more colors than double of one color, if that makes sense. So the next color is blue. I use blue for, surprise, surprise, emotional scenes or scenes that make me want to cry. Blue is like my favorite. I love blue. And then green, I use for world building. When I'm reading fantasy, it's necessary. I don't know. Personally, I find world building to be really interesting, and I think it could be cool to go back if I'm confused on something. So I have a world building tab. I don't know if everyone does that, but I did it because I read a lot of fantasy and I find that it's helpful if I'm confused, even though I never go back. I just like to tab it. I just like to feel productive, you know? I've never annotated a contemporary book before, so I don't know what I would use green for in that instance, but we'll find out one day. The next color is yellow, and I use yellow for shocking moments. As you can imagine, when I'm reading a book for the first time, there are a lot of moments that are shocking to me. I think it would be really interesting to go back and reread the book and see, oh yeah, this scene was crazy. And then I use orange for like, I'm forgetting because I didn't write it down. But yeah, I use orange for important plot moments. I don't really know how to explain it, but like, you know how when the inciting incident happens and then the character kind of comes up with a plan, or another character tells the protagonist like, okay, this is what you have to do. Basically moments like that where you can clearly see the plot laid out for you. So I know where the story is going. I tab moments where the plot becomes clear. I don't know if that makes sense, but in my head, it makes sense. The last color, pink, I use pink for romance and smut scenes. There were like none in here. No, I'm kidding. Actually, there's a lot of pink in here, but I decided to use it just pink for like the overall romance arc because pink, love, kind of go hand in hand. At least they do in my head. I don't know. That's how I feel. That is how I tab books that I'm reading for the first time. Obviously, my annotation system changes when I reread a book, and you will see that. I'm pretty sure my annotation system is going to be different for every book I reread. I recently reread the ACOTAR series, and you can see ACOTAR doesn't have that many tabs, and ACOMAF is like littered with them. I was emotional, okay? Like, I did what needed to be done. I'll just start off with ACOTAR, just so you can see how my annotation system changed book to book, and also if I'm reading it for the first time versus if I'm rereading it. So for ACOTAR, I didn't tab that much, mostly just because I didn't think I was gonna like it that much when I reread it. I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. Probably should have written this down because I don't really remember everything, but actually when I reread ACOTAR, I didn't use the green tab, but I did use it when I reread ACOMAF because there was another thing that I wanted to tab. So again, like I said, things change when I'm rereading a book. Oh my God, rereading and annotating is so nice. It honestly made my rereading experience so much better. Just looking out for the little things, like the little details. It was so much fun. It like filled my soul with so much happiness. It's just so much fun. I don't know. Let me tell you. Okay, let me start. Okay, so I used purple. At first, I was trying to use them not interchangeably. I was trying to use the darker purple for quotes that I love and moments that I loved. And then I was going to use the lighter purple for important plot moments that I didn't catch the first time that I read the books. But then I was like, let me just use them interchangeably because it's getting confusing. Like, they literally look the exact same on the page, you guys. That's why I don't really like these tabs anymore. Again, purple was the same. I used purple for moments that I loved and quotes that I loved. Blue, I used for emotional moments, yes, but specifically because the book is told from Feyre's point of view, I used it for Feyre's emotional journey and her healing journey. I don't even know how to explain it, but like if you've read the ACOTAR series, then you know that like the entire trilogy is basically about Feyre healing from like everything that she goes through. And so I used blue to mark those moments where her emotional state was super clear and when she was like really going through it. And then of course when she was healing, and you could clearly see the moments where she's like a much better, stronger person. Those are some of my favorite moments to tab, just paying attention and like seeing all the little parallels between like her wanting to paint again and her feeling happy again, like her smiling again for the first time, her not having nightmares anymore. Like, I loved tabbing those moments. It made me so happy, but also really sad, but really happy and just super proud of Feyre. Green, like I said, I didn't actually use green when I reread ACOTAR, but when I reread ACOMAF, I used green to tab funny moments, but also moments with the inner circle. Well, I use green for a lot. I use green for funny moments / inner circle moments / found family moments, which you might be like, Hayley, how are you using one color for all three of those things? It was basically just green for the inner circle because they all together had really nice moments that I tabbed, so I used green. And then yellow was my favorite to annotate. I loved it. So I started out by using yellow to note moments where Feyre and Nesta were two sides of the same coin, because there is a quote that directly says that in ACOTAR. The two sisters are two sides of the same coin. So I was like, I want to tab moments where it shows that. So I did that. But then it just kind of became an Archeron sister tab because I was like, I might as well throw Elaine into here. And so basically I used yellow to tab the Archeron sister moments, but also mostly Nesta moments and mostly moments where Feyre and Nesta were again two sides of the same coin. Say it with me. Those were my favorite moments to tab. I loved looking out for them. It made reading the book that much more exciting because I was like, ooh, they're fighting, but like they're the same person. It was really exciting. And then, okay, so then I used orange to tab moments where Nesta, I love Nesta. I used orange to tab moments where Feyre was being a bad bitch because we needed recognition for that. Orange where Feyre was being a baddie because I really wanted to note that. And then lastly, I used pink for romance. Again, pink is always going to be romance. Purple is always going to be moments that I love. So I use pink for romance, not just scenes where they're being physically intimate, but scenes where you can tell they're starting to fall in love and that there is a connection between them. That's what I tabbed for when I reread. Like I said, it's probably going to change when I reread different books. So that's why I wanted to show the difference between me annotating books that I've already read and that I'm rereading versus books that I am reading for the first time. And I also want to point out that I do use clear sticky notes. So I know that this is not going to be super popular amongst people, but I use clear sticky notes to write in my books because I don't feel super comfortable writing directly on the page. Personally, writing, I get really stressed about it because I am a super big perfectionist, and if I messed up my writing in my book, it would drive me insane. I'm not kidding. So that's why I don't write on the page, because there's no way I'd be able to fix it if I messed up. So I use clear sticky notes, and the thing about these is like they're not slippery. You can use I think you can use any pen to write on them. It feels like regular paper, so it doesn't rub off or anything. I use Sharpies just because I want it to dry faster. I don't know. I just like to use Sharpies. I'll just show you what they look like on the page. They are translucent when they're on the page. So here is what it looks like. As you can see, I wrote all over the text, which you might be like, Hayley, that's weird, because now you can't even read that. You might be like, Hayley, when people write in their books, you're supposed to write in the margins, not cover the text. But the thing about the sticky notes is nice because you have an entire space to write over, but then you can always just remove it, or you can peel it off, and it doesn't take any of the words off of the page. So it's really nice. It's just convenient. I don't know. The only thing I will say is that these sticky notes were really expensive. It came with a lot, but they were like $30. I don't know why they were so expensive. It's kind of ridiculous. I mostly just use the sticky notes when I really have something to say, because when I read ebooks, I highlight all the time, and I love it because it's so easy to just type in my thoughts. So I decided I would get sticky notes because I do really want to be able to record my thoughts. I just love annotating. A lot of people wonder why do you do it? You're not reading the book for class or anything. Why? I noticed some people will say they don't like to annotate because it takes them out of the story, and then it slows down their reading process. And I can totally see that. For me, I think it's worth it because I really love to record my thoughts when I'm reading. It helps me as a reviewer, but it also just is nice to go back and look at my thoughts and know what I was feeling when I read this book, maybe 3 years ago. It can also be really helpful if you're reading a book for the first time, because then you can go back and check on any notes you made about the world building, or if you need a summary of a certain chapter. If it's been a while since you picked up the book you're reading, you can just look back at your notes. Yeah, I also have some other books that I want to show you. Poppy War and Dragon Republic. You can see they're super tabbed up. I use the same system for this series that I tabbed Crescent City with because I was reading them for the first time, and so yeah. Also, you'll notice that my Crescent City book, the tabs stick out a lot more than my other books, like Akamath. They're super little, you can barely see them. This is just personal preference, but I don't like it when my tabs stick out so much that you can see them, because sometimes I do want to display my books. You can see up here, I have them facing out. And so if I want to display my books, I don't want you to be able to see the tabs sticking out like crazy. And I'll actually show you an example of another book that I annotated a long time ago. Torch Against the Night. You can see they're all the same color. I don't know what I was tabbing for. I can't remember. I don't have any notes in here, but they stick out a lot, and it's good that they're blue because they kind of match the book, but it's not a vibe, honestly. It's kind of ugly, and I don't even know what I was tabbing for. Some of the moments I'm like, why'd I mark this page? There's nothing happening. I don't know. Moving on to the next portion of the video, how do I rate my books? A lot of people will be really surprised when I rate books a certain way, and honestly, I need to clear the air because I feel so much judgment from so many people. I'm kind of kidding. Let's start at the very bottom. DNF. I'm not a DNFer. DNF, if you don't know, stands for did not finish. I don't like to DNF books. I spend money on them, and I don't want to waste my money by not finishing a book. Yeah, but I know a lot of people say that you're just wasting your time if you're pushing through a book that you're not enjoying, and I'm like, yeah, I agree, but at the same time, it really bothers me when I don't finish things. I really like to finish things when I start them. So that's just my own personal problem. Let's move on to the 1 stars. I give books 1 star when there's just nothing about the book that is good. It could be if a book was problematic or the book was just super badly written, nothing makes sense, just completely shit tier, 1 star, not good. Or if they're problematic, can't excuse racism. Anyway, moving up. 2 star is I didn't like the book. Not that there's nothing good about it, but just didn't vibe with it. Not my kind of thing. Basically just means I had a lot of issues with it, but the only reason it's not a 1 star is probably because like maybe more so bad and I didn't like it, but like also not the worst thing I've ever read. That's what a 2 star is. 3 star is a very meh book. Just didn't care. Wasn't bad, wasn't good. It was okay, but I don't care. So basically 3 stars is just an okay read. Personally, I don't think a 3 star is a bad rating. I know a lot of people do though. Like 3 stars, like basically a 1 for some people. But for me, I think a 3 star is like, it's still a decent book. Just maybe it wasn't for me. So anyway, 4 stars. I usually give books 4 stars books that I really, really like. Just had a few flaws, you know? I do give a lot of 4 stars because I feel like I tend to enjoy a lot of books, but then I'm like, I don't want to give it 5 because I feel like a 5 star is a very specific feeling. But 4 stars are like almost that feeling, but not quite because there were a few things that fell flat. I also have given a lot of books 4 star that I don't necessarily think are 4 stars just because I like to round up certain books. If it's a book that gives good representation or if it's like an own voice's story or if it's written by an author of color, I always round up. I think that those stories are important. Sometimes I round down. If it's like a white author and it's a very basic story, I'll round down because I'm like, you don't need my help. But if it's an author of color and you know I want to see them win, I'm gonna round up. And then 5 star, basically your soulmate in a book. Not really though. I feel like I used to be a lot more lenient with my 5 star ratings. And I know it's like not a big deal. Like who gives a shit if I'm giving every book I read 5 stars? But for me, I just really want my tastes to be more defined, if that makes sense. You know, like if you read and you rate books and you know, I feel like 5 stars are a very specific feeling. At least they are for me. I just know like if I really just vibed with a book, like there's like no flaws, it's gonna get 5 stars. A book that I continue to think about long after I finish it. Let me tell you, a book that makes me cry or almost makes me cry is like an automatic 5 star. Like if you could get me invested to the point where I'm getting emotional, that's 5 stars right there. Like that's very impressive to me. I think I'm a critical reader, but I also am mostly rating for my enjoyment because I do read for fun. But at the same time, there are sometimes problems that I just can't ignore. Some people think that I'm picky. I don't know if I agree with that. Like maybe. I don't know. I think it depends on the genre, honestly. For romance, I am really only reading just to have a good time. I'm just here to see a cute couple that has chemistry and fun banter. That's really all I want in a romance. I'm like really easy when it comes to rating romance books. If there's chemistry and I'm invested in the couple, it's probably gonna get a solid 4 stars. Fantasy, on the other hand, there are so many more components that I look at. I look at world building, I look at plot, pace, like I look at everything. I feel like my rating system is very simple. Sometimes when I finish books, get very conflicted on how I want to rate them, and sometimes I just can't make up my mind. But sometimes I compare other books. I'm like, okay, I gave this book 3 stars and I definitely like this book more than that book, so that means it has to be 4 stars. But then I'm like, but I had so many issues with it, so maybe it should be a 3 star. It can get really confusing inside of my head. I think what we can learn is that everyone has different rating systems, different things work for different people, and that's just how it is. I think that that's all I have to say. I feel like I kind of talked a lot. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Remember to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next week with another video. Bye.